Hey guys, Tarap here, and today we're taking a look at the September 2019 patch preview. Big patch coming to the game, a lot of changes. Full disclosure, I'm on the Balance Mod team, so maybe you want to discount my opinion, or maybe I'll be able to provide some insight as to why a few of these changes are happening, and also explain a few of those hard to understand stats. So getting started, heavy tanks are now going to be behind tech, and they're also going to have a command point requirement. As we saw with the last balance patch, kind of testing things out with the new Tiger Ace. If we just left them behind tech, that was a problem, especially in like the lower ranked team games where players would just spam caches, not much action would happen, and then you could get those heavy tanks at a very, very early timing. That's problematic. So it's going to be behind both tech and a command point requirement. That means it will hit the field at a relevant time for both 1v1s and those big modes. On top of that, most heavy tanks are having a rework on the AoE profile, meaning there'll be less one-shot wipes, but more consistent damage. The scatter will be reduced, so they'll be more likely to hit. When they do hit, instead of like one-shot wiping, maybe they'll do like half the squad's health, so you have a bit of time to react. Moving on to medics. Medics will now sprint to wounded infantry models. That's nice, they gotta hurry on, they gotta save some lives. Medic chase range will be down to 20, so they won't chase you as you run out back onto the battlefield, which was quite annoying. They chase you almost all the way out onto the field, and then you'd have wounded squads waiting in base for them, but so that's not going to happen so much anymore. And the USF ambulance medic and UKF glider medics now have a timed area effect heal that automatically heals squads around them when activated. So I believe this is basically going to be like the Tommy healing package with healing. So, if somebody goes for like a base dive on your ambulance and, you eject the ambulance crew, the healing medics, now they actually be useful, whereas previously they were kind of like luggage. The automatic healing on them was just awful. Even if you right click to heal a squad, it quite often wouldn't target correctly. So they were you'd kind of just end up using them as a capping squad, maybe combat medics, and then rebuilding the ambulance. That's how bad they were. So now you'll have a little bit of a consolation prize in terms of healing if your ambulance does end up getting sniped. And I don't anticipate them to be super good, so maybe you still won't get them as Brits, but at least they won't be complete rubbish. OKW, teching and faction changes. So we all know how strong OKW starts are, mainly on the back of the Stern Pioneers being so excellent, and then also with the Volksgrenadiers being so strong and like effective at all ranges. They're just get off to a very strong start overall. The intention here is to slightly taper off their explosive start, but then give them a little bit more smoothness through the teching phases. So to achieve this, manpower is going down by 20, but fuel is going up by 5, starting fuel. Truck costs are also going down by 30 manpower. And then Volksgrenadier costs are going up by 10. So I believe the net impact of this is if you're going for like a 4 Volksgrenadier start going into your first phase of teching, manpower costs should be identical. But by decreasing the starting manpower by a bit and increasing the Volksgrenadier manpower cost, should start impacting you right from the second squad of Volksgrenadiers that will come in. Maybe about 5 seconds later, you'll be able to start them. Then on top of that, of course, your third and fourth squad will also come in quite a lot slower. So it should blunt a little bit of the impact, the really strong start of OKW, whilst not impacting their time to get to the first stage of tech. Changes to the Schwerpanzer headquarters. Now this is going to happen in 2 stages instead of just being 200 manpower, 120 fuel. The first stage will be 100 manpower and 80 fuel, and that unlocks Obers and the Hetzer, which is in Firestorm Commander. However, Obersoldaten, LMG and IR STG upgrades will be locked behind the next stage, which is Panzer Authorization. And you get that for 100 manpower and 40 fuel, which adds up to the previous price. And that way you get the rest of the tanks, Jagdpanzer, Panzer IV, Panther, as well as the Flak Panzer, and also gives you access to the Obersoldaten upgrades. And the flak gun on this is also locked until you get that final stage of tech. So this means you won't be able to, get that first stage of tech, just plop it down on your cutoff and fuel point and just completely lock the other player out of the game. In fact, it may actually be quite vulnerable during that phase of time where you're trying to get the upgrade. Maybe a squad can come up and satchel it to death or something like that. So something to consider going forwards. But the overall impact of this will mean you start getting your obers out earlier, make Hetzer strategies viable, maybe start vetting your obers up. We all know how powerful they get at vet 2. So overall, this should lead to just a smoother transition, especially if you're going like a battle group into Schwer strategy, and should unlock some more options, especially if you're going for the Firestorm Commander. Fox Grenadier manpower cost going up by 10 just to blunt their start, but reinforcement cost is unchanged. So not going to have a huge impact on the game, but slightly slower start and slightly more costly to replace if you end up losing them. Stern Pioneers are getting some changes. Their veterancy is going down. It's very hard to vet them up currently. The Vet 4 accuracy bonus is going to Vet 3, and the Vet 3 construction bonus is going to Vet 4. So switching those around. So this should mean they start scaling a lot better. Don't have to wait to Vet 4 to get that combat scaling, so they won't drop off so sharply in the mid to late game. And also the concussive grenade is now going to Vet 1 rather than Vet 3. I'm a little bit worried about that, because that is, it's kind of like a stun grenade. It's pretty good, but we'll see how it goes. For me, that would maybe be a change that's not really necessary. MG34 HMG, the vet requirements on this are going down. Since it doesn't do much damage, it does take quite a long time to vet up, so this will make it a little bit easier to vet up, a little bit better, this machine gun. Kubelwagen did receive some speed buffs in the last patch, but still doesn't see much play. So to combat that, health is going from 240 to 192, but a received damage modifier of 0.8 is added. So this means the overall health is going to be exactly the same. It will still take 240 points of damage to kill it, but repair times on this will be faster. So, if it does take damage in the early game, it won't take quite so long for your Stern Pioneers to repair back up. Some other units have this, like the KV series of Soviet tanks. Just makes it so you don't spend an eternity repairing these vehicles back up. Raketenwerfer. This is receiving quite a lot of changes, and I am a couple of days late making this video, so seeing quite a lot of feedback on this already, and it's quite negative. But range is going from 50 to 55. So yes, current range is 50. Most other AT guns have 60 range, so it's going to be slightly less range than every other AT gun. Also important to note, most tank destroyers are also 60 range, so it's still going to be slightly outranged by things like Jackson, Su-85. Crew size going from 4 to 5, so won't just die to one shot from H.E. Sherman, for example, or less likely at least. Camouflage ability now locks unit in place unless revealed, cannot move but can rotate, so we'll be able to switch directions on the spot but won't be able to creep forwards and sneak behind enemy lines with it to knock out a Katyusha or something like that. Requires Vet 1 for camouflage. This is a big nerf, honestly. A little bit surprised about this one. And the retreat function is removed, also a huge nerf. So yeah, I have seen a bit of the feedback on this, and maybe a few of these changes are going to be reverted, but we'll have to wait and see. 251 flak half track, fuel cost is going down from 55 to 50. The Vet 5 bonuses are moved to Vet 3, so Vet 5 bonuses are like speed and mobility bonuses, so it should help you keep these flak half track alive. And then the Vet 3 and 4 bonuses are both going up 1 to fill the gap left by Vet 5. And I think these are mainly, I think this is like a combat bonus, maybe like reload and cooldown or something. So yeah, it won't be quite as killy early on, but should help you actually keep this thing alive. Still don't think this is potentially enough. It does still, in my opinion, take a little bit too long to suppress squads. After that nerf, it received quite some time where its suppression was halved. Tiger 2, this is the King Tiger, and this is receiving some changes as mentioned earlier. AoE distance. So the near and the mid AoE are going way down, but the far AoE is going up. So this will hit a larger area, but close to the center of the shot will do significantly less damage to infantry. So you can see here, it used to do like 240 damage in the middle of the AoE, now it'll do significantly less. Same in the mid-range, 0.25 times 240 I think is 60, but even then that's at a very small range of 1. So the one-shot kill raise on the King Tiger is going to be very, very small with these changes. But it should probably do about half health to a squad each time it lands a shot. And it will land shots much more frequently because the scatter is going down from 7.5 to 5. So instead of like missing wildly again and again, it should actually land a shot. But when it does land a shot, it won't one-shot wipe. Might do like half health to the squad. So now we're taking a look at the King Tiger with its revised AoE and scatter against a 6-man squad. Pretty well spread out here. This is close to max range as well, like right on the max range basically. So scatter will be at its maximum here, but first shot you can see does about half health to the 6-man conscript squad, but only basically gets one model kill. So another pretty decent shot there. So basically every shot here is connecting with the conscripts, but you can see like the killing force of each squad is significantly lower. So it will give you quite a lot more time to react, especially if you do have like a very large squad like the 6-man conscript squad. But you can see the accuracy on the scatter overall when fighting against infantry is much tighter. The King Tiger much more accurate when shooting at infantry squads. And now a demo of the King Tiger close range against a somewhat clumped up squad. So as you can see, they didn't even drop a single model there. About half health from the conscripts. Follow-up squad. Follow-up shot takes off quite a few models. Machine gun peppering away, and then 3 shots and the squad is dead. But you can see there, the lethal force of the King Tiger way down. Basically can't kill a model in one shot anymore. Changes to the veterancy as well. Spearhead is going to Vet 1, and then Blitz is going to Vet 3. So Spearhead gives a bonus sight, locks the turret into a cone, and gives the machine gun suppression. And then Blitz, the speed bonus, is going to Vet 3. This does help the King Tiger in this, as it pushes forwards. Having the extra sight does make a big difference, though I do worry about the King Tiger's mobility. I feel like missing out on Blitz may end up in the King Tiger dying a lot more frequently, especially to things like SU-85s chasing it down. Veterancy requirements are also going down on the King Tiger by a decent chunk, so maybe getting to a Vet 5 King Tiger won't be quite such a meme. You may actually see a few of them in the future. But yeah, a lot of heavy tanks are receiving similar AoE reworks. Opal Blitz, this is the truck available in the Firestorm Commander. Doesn't see almost any use at the moment, but can be used for troop transport and reinforcement. So the command point requirements of this are going down from 3 CP to 1 CP. Early testing shows that 1 CP may be slightly too early, so might go back up to 2, but we'll have to wait and see. Now has access to the ambulance healing ability, which is crazy strong, so that's really strong for the Opal Blitz. Acceleration going way up, rotation going way up, so it's going to be much more maneuverable, but top speed is not being changed. Fuel cost is going down by 5, so Opal Blitz just got a lot more attractive. Also, changes to Firestorm, the infantry support gun incendiary barrage is getting buffed. So the scatter is going down, the shells are going to land in a tighter area. And the reload is going down, so the shells should land more rapidly. And a small change to the garrison damage modifier. This is the impact damage, so the damage it does when it lands rather than the damage over time that the flame pool provides. It's getting slightly buffed, so it should be slightly better against buildings. And then the flame damage over time changed from 1 to 2, so pool of flame should do more damage. So yeah, big changes to the infantry support gun barrage here should make this really strong now. The Flampanzer Hetzer also getting some veterancy requirement reductions. Just a decent, maybe about 20% requirement reductions here. Because now it comes in at the earlier timing with those tech changes, in preliminary testing I actually found this to be quite strong. So it doesn't really need that many changes, but if you guys are familiar with the veterancy system, shooting at units that give fuel gives significantly more veterancy. So because the Hetzer shoots flames, doesn't really do any damage to vehicles, there's a hard time vetting up. So slight reduction in veterancy here, but with the tech changes, this is actually quite strong now, I have to say. Overwatch flares. These are the flares in Overwatch that instantly get planted and are free and provide heaps of sight. That's no longer going to be the case. You're going to have to plant them by all the relevant infantry squads. Still going to cost nothing and can be planted on territory points captured by allies as well as yourself, and take 7 seconds to plant. So not only is this a little bit of a micro tax, but this is also potentially dangerous for you to do in a combat scenario, because say a squad comes up whilst you're planting them, your squad's not automatically going to return fire. They're going to be busy planting flare, so you may take some extra damage. And I'm not sure if you have a received accuracy penalty whilst planting, but you may do, so you may take bonus damage whilst planting the flare if you get found whilst planting flare. So it's going to come with some drawbacks finally, these Overwatch flares, because this commander is very strong at the moment. So now I'm going to do a quick check to see if the squad does have a penalty whilst planting the flares. Yeah, it appears to me that they do. They drop so many models so rapidly whilst they're planting, and then that last model after they'd finished planting dropped a little bit more slowly. So I would say there is some kind of received accuracy penalty whilst planting these flares. Radio silence. This is in the Spec Ops commander. Doesn't see much use, but at the moment blocks out things from appearing on the tactical map and the mini-map. Maybe also blocks out some audio cues. Now it's going to have a movement speed bonus for infantry during the ability, and the cost is going up. So this should make the ability more attractive to use overall. The infantry is going to be sprinting around, and your opponent's not going to know where they're sprinting because they can't see it on the mini-map or the tactical map. So the Command Panther is also going behind tech. Hallelujah. This has been the meta commander for such a long time. So it now requires 9 CPs and the Schwer Panzer authorization, so the full amount of tech unlocked to call this in. And the sight range is going down from 55 to 50, so it will still be self-spotting, but won't be self-spotting and then some. Cost is going down, so still going to have a premium over the regular Panther because it, with the abilities it is quite strong, but not by such a huge margin any longer, especially in the fuel department. And then the aura sight bonus that it gives is also going down slightly. Infiltration grenades, the cost of these is going up from 15 to 20. So everyone knows these infiltration grenades are very spammable at their current price. So just a slight change there. We still want these to be strong. These are one of the main reasons you would pick Spec Ops or Scavenge. We don't want to nerf them into the ground, but they were definitely too spammable at 15 munitions. Sturm Tiger is also going behind tech, 8 CPs, and requires the Schwer Panzer authorization to be called in. Fallschirmjäger, these are also receiving some changes. They're going to have less impact when you airdrop them in, but will scale better into the late game, should be a viable alternative to Obersoldaten. So their cost is going down. They now airdrop in with Kar98s. Command point requirement is going down. And now you have to upgrade them to FG42s. You'll get 2 of them with the first stage of upgrade, and that is free. And then to get a second pair of them, you have to pay 60 munitions, and you'll need the Schwer Panzer headquarters to be deployed, similar to Ober upgrades. But the FG42 is getting buffed. The mid-range is going from 16 to 21. So close to mid-range, their damage will be significantly higher. The rate of fire is also going up, so they'll be spitting out more damage, spitting out more bullets, doing more damage. And the FG42 fire cooldown is going down. So long range, they'll be spitting out more bullets essentially because there'll be less gap between their bursts of fire. Their Vet 3 accuracy is also going up from a 15% bonus to a 30% bonus. So their scaling as they vet up will be better. And their Vet 5 accuracy bonus out of camouflage is also going up. I think previously it was 25%, now 50%. So now Fallschirmjäger jumping onto the field will be a little bit weak, but their scaling will be really, really strong. So here we have an engagement, Fallschirmjäger with all 4 FG42s fully upgraded versus some M1990 paratroopers at reasonably long range. So Paris got the jump on them, a couple of full models had to turn around before firing. Okay, Para's winning that one quite handily. So we'll run this one again in the sake of fairness. This time Fallschirmjäger maintaining their model counts a little bit better deep into the fight. But still a reasonably handy win for the paratroopers, getting, you know, well under half health, but staying at 3 or 4 models. Same engagement, but this time Fallschirmjäger fully vetted. Force drop a model pretty quickly. Overall, the engagement going very similar at Vet 5, so a Vet 3 accuracy improvement there seems to make them scale maybe equally to the Paras at long range. So here we are with the same engagement, but this time at a mid-range. So paratroopers win by a similar margin in mid-range. Same engagement mid-range. Similar result. And now shock troops closing in on the fully upgraded Falls from max range. Looks like Falls take that one out, so that's good. They can at least hold their own against shock troops charging in. Now shock troops closing in, but this time the Fallschirmjäger only have 2 FG-42s upgraded. Yeah, so with only 2 FG-42s upgraded, they can't hold the shock troops off, and this is an engagement you probably will run into in the game since they both arrive at a similar timing. Sector Assault. This is the ability in the Overwatch Commander, the final ability, the one that costs 250 munitions. At the moment it's kind of like an anti-everything, and it sets out so many planes it can actually be quite hard to shoot down with AA. But now the suppression on the plane's getting nerfed, so hopefully won't pin like all the infantry in the area, would maybe just suppress them unless they're in the area for multiple suppression passes and the suppression radius is going down. So yeah, won't just suppress everything in a huge area. We are more targeted on where the plane is actually shooting with this suppression, so it should be not quite so overwhelming to face the Sector Assault ability. So now we're going to take a look at the revised suppression on the Sector Assault ability.
Orders received.
A lot of units spread out here, and we get to see what all these changes are made. Suppressing planes, so suppress all of these ones. And second pass comes in, gets a pin on a couple of them. More suppression, maintaining the pin. Looks like basically all of the passes targeting these. So if your squad does get hit by 2 passes from the planes, they will get pinned. But yeah, they're not just going to pin everything in the area. Assault Artillery, this is the ability in the Jagdtiger Commander. So no longer is targeted on a sector. Can now be targeted on any location with sight except base sectors, same as every other off-map. Now drops 20 artillery shells over a 50-meter radius, followed up by 15 smoke shells in a 40-meter radius. So just kind of normalizing this ability rather than being like potentially covering like random spots on a huge sector, just in a more targeted area, much like every other off-map ability. So now we're taking a look at the revised assault artillery. As you can see on the mini-map, the targeting area from this is pretty huge, so put units in a pretty large area, but we'll have to see exactly where the shells end up dropping. Quite a long delay before they start to drop, and yeah, they do end up scattering a very far range, kind of like RNG bombs to US forces, honestly. So yeah, the bombs drop in a huge area, do about quarter health to an average tank if they land on them, and you know, will kill infantry if they land nearby, but the scatter on these is enormous, as you could tell from the area of the targeting circle. Huge area that these bombs get dropped on. Not a lot of bombs for that large of an area, I would say, but there you go. That's the revised assault artillery. Sturmofficer. This is receiving a lot of changes, and I'm really excited about this one. The always on aura is being removed, and veterancy is getting added to it. Currently has no veterancy, but we're going to add some veterancy bonuses to it now. So also some other changes. Target size on it is going down, so straight away it's going to be slightly harder to hit. More useful as a combat squad when it hits the battlefield. Passive aura is being removed. The retreat on officer moral death is also being removed, so focus firing the officer won't result in every squad retreating that's next to it when the officer dies. But the command point requirement is going up from 1 to 2. Matches the other officer units like the artillery officer or the commissar. And these are the veterancy bonuses. Vet 1 reduces ability cost by 10 munitions. I'll have to demonstrate these abilities to you. Vet 2 increases squad size to 5. This is a huge bonus. Plus 10 to ability range. Vet 3 plus 40% accuracy. Pretty big accuracy bonus. Vet 4 received accuracy bonus. Pretty standard number there. And Vet 5, the officer model, gets an STG-44, the Panzer Grenadier variety. Also gains shared veterancy, so should vet up very quickly if you're using it alongside other troops. So here is the new officer. As you can see here, he's got veterancy up to 5 stars, and his abilities target them. Units targeted by this ability will take bonus damage, but then they will also fight more ferociously in return. So it might be better if you're like 2v1ing or 3v1ing the squad rather than just 1-on-1ing them with the officer. And force retreat, so we'll force the squad to retreat. That's 40 munitions, and this one is 60. This time against Penals at long range. Officer does have 3 Obersoldaten as his bodyguards, so should be pretty effective in combat. Here we are at long range. So as you saw there, the officer model just died, but no retreat, which is a nice change of pace. So Penals were pulling out to a pretty good lead. Oh yeah, just as I was about to say that. Pretty close fighting here. There we go. Penals do end up taking it, but it was a very, very close engagement. Same engagement, with this time both squads fully vetted up. So it looks like Penals are going to take this one as well. Thought maybe the 5th model would be the difference maker, but apparently not. Penals winning this one at long range. So now we have the Sturmofficer versus Rifleman at the same range as the Penals, long range. See if Officer feels a little bit better here. Does seem to be doing a little bit better against the Rifleman than it was against the Penals. So yeah, is going to beat Rifleman at long range, and they do cost the same, both of them costing 280 manpower. Now we have the Officer versus Rifleman at close range. Have to remember that Rifleman also received a buff in their near damage this patch. So close range looks like Rifleman winning slightly more prevalently than the Officer did at long range. So now both squads fully vetted at close range. Let's see if that Panzergrenadier STG can make the difference. There we go, the Officer does take the victory once both squads are fully vetted. So now both squads fully vetted, but this time Riflemen have one bar equipped. So a very handy win to the Rifleman there. Same engagement, both squads fully vetted with one bar on the Rifleman. This time things are a lot more even. I think the Officer model stayed alive for a lot longer, allowed that Panzergrenadier STG to get some work done. And this time the Officer wins out. So it does appear to be a close fight between single bar Rifleman and the fully vetted Sturmofficer. Now we have the Command Tiger. This is the one in the Grand Offensive Commander, receiving similar changes, AoE changes to the King Tiger we saw earlier. Going to be hitting a larger area at the far distance, but close range is going to close to the center of the shell. It's going to be doing less damage to infantry, and also the scatter is getting buffed, so should hit the target more frequently, but when it does hit, shouldn't be getting those one-shot wipes quite as often, and also the veterancy on this is being decreased. So here we have the OKW Command Tiger facing off against a pretty well spread out squad of 6-man conscripts at close to the max range. Look at its AoE and scatter and whatnot. So scatter quite tight, but so far damage not too impressive. There's two models there. Scatter is very reliable though, even at this almost max range. Isn't doing damage every shot, but the damage generally taking 2 shots. Slightly out of range. Generally taking 2 shots to kill each infantry model. So if they're spread out like this, it will take a long time to kill a 6-man squad, as you can see. This time it's decided to miss a whole bunch. But yeah, long range, you know, especially without the machine guns chipping in any damage, doesn't appear that impressive. And now the Command Tiger against a clumped up squad close range. Overshoots the mark there. Ooh, big hit there, actually knocked out a few models. With 3 shots and they're dead. Pretty good close range performance. Thorough salvage. This is the ability in the Scavenge Commander. at the moment takes significantly longer than a regular salvage to do, and doesn't really give that much of a bonus for your trouble. So now it's just being reduced to the same time as the regular salvage. So now we're moving on to the British, starting out with the infantry sections. We all know what a headache 5-man sections are at the moment, just so hard to deal with, overwhelming every other mainline in the game. Even if they don't have a weapon upgrade, they don't even need the Brens. That's how strong they are at the moment. So a few changes happening to them here. Their damage is going from 16 to 14, but the accuracy is going up. So the DPS profile at all ranges should be basically identical, but they'll be less likely to just like burst down models, which can give a big advantage in a firefight if your opponent drops a model like straight away and now their DPS is lower. So then the sections start to overwhelm them. You know, they might be fighting 3/4 strength versus Tommies at full strength, so decrease to their burst damage. So the received accuracy is going from 0.8 to 0.9, so this will make them easier to hit with small arms when they're out of cover, but when they're in cover, that received accuracy is now recovered. So this should make blobbing with Tommies running around out of cover less viable, and also maybe encourage Tommies once the firefight has started to then move into cover to get those bonuses, whereas at the moment they can just stand out in no cover and just win the fight anyway. Speaking of, Assault Tommies removes the cover bonus and grants it as a passive instead, so Assault Tommies are not going to be super punished by this change. Also, a slight change to pyrotechnic supplies. The sight range provided by them is being decreased. So big changes to Tommies. We all know that they are a massive headache, and hopefully this just incrementally moves them to not being such a big problem at the moment. So the Vickers is getting buffed, a slight buff to its suppression. So at the moment, you know, we all know that Vickers often kills a model and then doesn't suppress the squad, and then you get overrun. So hopefully with this suppression bonus, you'll actually be able to suppress some squads with the Vickers. Sniper, we all know what a headache the British sniper is to use. It takes so long to fire a shot off, can actually be hard to get counter snipes off just because it takes so long before it can aim and fire. So that has been decreased to a similar time to other snipers. Yeah. So here's the sniper test. The British sniper against the Austrian sniper, both snipers facing against each other. Which one's going to fire first? Ooh, British sniper gets the win there. Round 2. Okay, so this time the Austrian sniper gets the win. Might have to do with which squad I decide to switch factions, but as you can see there, previously the British sniper would have no chance of winning that, so just the fact that it can win these kind of engagements is incredible. A slightly different sniper test. This time they're both going to be aiming at the combat engineer, and who's going to get the kill first? Okay, so the British sniper gets hit. Promising signs for the British sniper's aim time reduction. Now we're moving on to the Comet, which is not very commonly seen these days ever since its moving accuracy got changed from 0.75 to 0.5. Kind of been underutilized, the Comet. So a few changes here to try and buff it into relevancy. Small decrease in manpower. Scatter is also being buffed, similar to other heavy tanks, so it should land shots on infantry a lot more effectively. AoE is also being changed. So the far AoE, so similar to heavy tank changes, having an increase in far AoE, so it should be hitting a larger area, but the one-shot kill radius is going way down. Vet 3 now adds 20% to reload speed, so Comet doesn't really at the moment have very many combat veterancy bonuses, so getting one here gets a lot of like utility bonuses, like I think throwing grenades or something like that, I don't know. And now has heavy crush, so similar to the Panther, should be able to crush tree lines. So here's the Comet at close to max range against a Volksgrenadier squad, which is quite well spread out. Pretty good shot straight off the bat, about quarter health. That one missing its mark. That one connecting, one model down. Definitely quite a lot worse than the Tiger and the King Tiger so far. It just feels like this reload is quite a long time. A few more. You can see the scatter is quite tight on this. One shooting wide. And now we're starting to get some pretty big misses going. Grazing shots. We're really struggling down the home stretch, the old Comet. But yeah, you can tell, like, you really feel the difference between this and, say, the OKW Tiger that we had earlier on having a significantly slower rate of fire and really missing the mark on this squad. These last two models, very hard for the Comet to kill here. There we go. So yeah, definitely not that impressive compared to the Tiger. I think we got a little bit unlucky with all those scatters right at the end, but that is the revised Comet at long range. So here's the revised Comet against a clumped squad close range. About half health with that first shot. Indy doing a bit of follow-up damage. Second shot, basically the entire squad here is dead. And it doesn't even get a third shot in. So it knocks it out, maybe even faster than the Tiger managed to dispose of a 6-man conscript squad in a similar amount of clumping. Changes to the Cromwell, acceleration going up by a decent chunk from 2.6 to 3, making this more maneuverable, and target size going down from 22 to 20, so it should be harder for enemy tanks to hit it. Personally, not the changes I was really looking for. I was hoping for a buff to its machine gun. At the moment, its machine guns are worse than Panzer IV machine guns, and that's pre-Pintle upgrade, so the machine guns on the Cromwell are quite pitiful. And that means chasing a squad on retreat, very unreliable, have to rely on the main gun getting hit, and if it doesn't, you're shit out of luck. Not really the changes I was hoping for on the Cromwell, but buffs to it nonetheless. Firefly, changes to this as well. Fuel cost is going down by 10. So it's going to be more similar in price now to the Jackson, and also a change to the Tula rocket upgrades. So firing the rockets is the same, but getting the upgrade is decreased from 50 to 30. So maybe we'll see a bit more tulip action, because quite often we see players just not even bother upgrading these. Moving on to the Churchill. This thing is a damage soak at the moment. This is just the regular Churchill, not the Crocodile or the AVRE. So the population of this is going up from 16 to 18. So more in line with things like the Panther now, which I think is fair enough because this thing is really honestly quite strong. And then the grenade ability is going from Vet 0 to Vet 1. So a few minor nerfs to the Churchill. It is a massive headache to kill this thing with either of the Axis factions. So hopefully you won't see like 2 or 3 of them now in a British lineup, just maybe 1 or 2. And now some changes to emplacements. Deconstruct emplacement ability added to Royal Engineers, but when deconstructing an emplacement, you do not get any resources back. So this is just if the front of the battle does end up moving and you've got like a mortar pit or a Bofors way in the back that's not relevant anymore, you can now kill it, so it's not occupying your army pop cap. So then you could maybe build something else in place of that. But important that it does not refund any resources. Don't really want to encourage emplacement spam and that kind of heavy fortified play, but you know, you could technically just kill your emplacement with a tank or something. We're just making it more of like a quality of life improvement here. Churchill Crocodile and AVRE, both of these are now going to be behind tech at 9 command points. Also require either hammer or anvil to get the Churchill Crocodile or the AVRE. A special thank you goes out to my Patreon backers who make the production of these long form videos possible.